In front of us, we have Ubuntu version 26.4. Let's take a look at what has changed, what the new features are, and whether I can recommend it to you. A warm welcome to Linux Art. I was an Ubuntu user myself in the past, but then switched over to Linux Mint for a very long time because I just wasn't satisfied with Ubuntu anymore. But looking at it a few years later, how has it developed? And why is this Ubuntu 26.4 release actually not that bad, doing some things completely differently than other Linux distributions? First, Ubuntu 26.04 will again receive 5 years of standard updates, meaning until the year 2031. And for those who want even longer support, Ubuntu Pro Office updates for, I guess, total of 10 years. So that's a lot. Let's see what has actually changed in the new Ubuntu version. Visually, not too much has changed at a first glance. As always, we have our bar on the left, our menu on the bottom left, which we can open or just use the Windows key to open the overview. And then we can search for applications, shortcuts, specific functions, settings, or sometimes even software as we see it here. Up here at the top, we have our notification center and our calendar along with our schedule overview if we've integrated a calendar. As always, we can set this up via online accounts in our settings. So it works with Google, Microsoft 365, Nextcloud, and pretty much any other compatible service. I think, to be honest, it's really great that this is still included and working like a glance. In the top right, we have our quick settings hub. We have our internet connection and the power mode, which you can switch between power saver and balanced. So nothing changed too drastically, but there are quite a few changes I want to highlight in this video. At first, we will get a bit technical. And yes, Ubuntu has the GNOME version 50. We can see that under settings. System details, meaning we've jumped 4 versions since Ubuntu 24.4, and there's a big change that might concern long-time Linux users. Our window manager is now exclusively Wayland. There is no more X11 for the standard Ubuntu version. This means all the applications might still have some problems, especially regarding remote desktops, screen recording or screenshots. For example, tools like Rastesk might still be experimental, though TeamViewer should work, so I expect a few hiccups there. Another feature that will please a lot of people, especially since Linux Mint still struggles with this, is the screen scaling. So if we go to the screen display, here we can change the scale between 100 and 200. This is very helpful, especially if you have multiple monitors with different pixel densities. So you can set those individually for each monitor. Windows has had this for years, but Ubuntu has really improved it here, even though it had it before. But now it's working a lot better, so I would say both thumbs up. Now let's come to some new default apps of Ubuntu they integrated. At first, let's just have a very quick look to the file manager. You see those icons have been tweaked slightly. They feel a more tactile, I would say, giving off a bit an early 2010s vibe, which is fine, I would say. If we open up now a PDF file, we have a new document viewer called Papers. You can add things directly in the standard Ubuntu app. No need for Adobe Reader, so we have a new edit document feature on the bottom right corner, and then I can just insert some text, for example, but I can also draw something and point to something, of course. I can highlight something, I can change the colors, I can change the thickness, and so on. That's quite useful, to be honest, and I really like this. That's just now in the default PDF app of Ubuntu. And the same goes for the image viewer. You can now edit images directly. So we see an edit image icon here. I can just click on it and then we can just crop it like we want it also have some presets. We can rotate it, we can flip it, and that's it. So it isn't a fully capable image editor, but most of the time I guess you just need such things like cropping. So that's really good that they just implemented that in the default image viewer app. This is great. Moving on, Ubuntu ships with a new terminal. So most people might not notice a huge difference, but if you work with containers like Podman, Toolbox or DistroBox, it's much easier to manage them there. It also remembers your open tabs. So I was in the downloads folder in the session before and it just remembered. I can also create some new tabs, go to the personal folder there, and I can now close this terminal, and if I open it up again, it will show all those tabs again with the sessions and the environment variables probably, which they still had set. So I'm a big fan of this. Now for a major app that many users will love, I guess, to be honest, is the new task manager called Resources. Let's just open it up. It feels heavily inspired by Windows, I guess, on the first look. On the left, we can choose between apps and processors. Those applications are beautiful grouped instead of just showing a massive, kind of ugly list of Linux processors. Of course, we have that too, as we see it here, but it's optional. That's great. And in overall, just this task manager restricts the view to the essentials, so normal users can understand it. But if you click into it, for example, if we click into the processor, you get much more detailed information like the core count, the total usage, and temperatures if we would have one. I would say it's one of the best task managers I've seen on Linux in recent years. And of course, if you still need to kill an app, that's no problem at all. Just select it and then we can whether end the app or we can also kill it. Great, isn't it? Now let's come to a point that might cause confusion. The old software and updates app is gone. They did a long post on Discourse if you are interested in it. If you didn't remember what software and updates was, it was an app where they packed many different things into it, but they weren't really needed for the most of the users and were kind of pro settings. So they just decided to drop it to keep the system lean, as most users also never touched those settings anyway. And at another point, it's good that most of the users are not touching those settings because you could do there a lot wrong. So I kind of understand this point. But you can also reinstall it again if you want. I guess most of us won't be sad that this app is not too relevant anymore for Ubuntu. But let's look to an app which is much more relevant for Ubuntu, and one of the most central apps and also one of the most central new apps Ubuntu created in the last years, and this is the new App Center. Back in 24.4 it was brand new and missing a lot of features like easily installing local DEB files without the terminal. This wasn't possible. Ubuntu has thankfully fixed this. Now you can just download a deb file, double click it and open it with the App Center to install it. I just downloaded the Linux Assistant, a big fan of it. Okay, yes, I'm also the developer behind it, but it turns out that this doesn't work at the current point. Not the Linux Assistant, but the App Center. It just says, we are sorry, but we are not sure what the error is. You can retry now or check the status. But to be fair, it worked in the past already. So this version I have here is a pre-version of 26.4. So it's not exactly this version you will get when you download Ubuntu on your own. But you can also install some other apps, of course, very easily, like for example Xonal++. We can just open it, and of course these are mostly snap packages, but when we were searching again we see the difference between snap packages and Debian packages. So it supports both of them. I really like that, and that it just highlights them We go to the snap package XAML++, that's nice. And here we could just install it. I already installed it, so it just shows me open, that's fine. Snap packages in overall, I would say, have security advantages, but can sometimes cause issues with network drives. Still, Ubuntu's integration has gotten pretty good, I would say, but the main criticism remains that Canonical has the total control over the Snap Store, so to decide is an app gonna be listed or it is not. But to be fair, they haven't made any massive blunders within recent years, so I think it's still okay for the Ubuntu universe. Now let's come to another app which is new, and this is the Security Center. We can just open it up here. It is still experimental, but it brings Android-style permissions dialogues for apps. So when a Snap app wants to access certain features, it has to ask for permission. I think this is a fantastic addition, pushing Ubuntu towards a more secure and accessible, almost Android-like user experience on the desktop. And I think this could be a good idea for the average user who just wants to use its computer and doesn't want to have too much stress about it, but also wants a bit more control over its privacy. So could be a great thing. Also, during installation, you can now secure your full disk encryption using your motherboard TPM chip. This means the encryption is hardware backed, so if someone steals your drive, they can't do anything with the data. Hats off to Ubuntu for this. It's a really cool feature, I would say. But also, speaking of hardware, another very nice thing of Ubuntu, when we have a look to the download options, this will be, of course, also for 26.4, we see an ARM 64-bit architecture. This is amazing for the new Snapdragon X Elite platform and also the Apple Silicon MacBooks. This is definitely a step in the right direction, and I really like that. And another thing to praise Ubuntu for, in the past they were rightly criticized because the send system data option was checked by default on the welcome screen. Now they have changed it. It is deactivated by default. You have to explicitly turn it on to help them. I would say this clears up a major criticism from the community, and I really like that question that you really have to opt in. And that just feels a bit more Linux-ish, if you know what I mean. So we see Ubuntu did great changes this release, but I would say while Ubuntu has done this great work, I still have a few criticisms. Sometimes things don't feel 100% finished for the end user. For example, for my German Linux website, we do a lot of Linux support. We are also doing it internationally, so definitely have a look. But we had to change our remote software setup, and we just now posted a curl script, so a one-liner just to get Rustisk up and running. But for that, we need this curl command. And yes, curl isn't installed by default, or for example, also libfuse2 for app images isn't installed by default. There are some archive libraries which are not installed by default. But even though there are still some snap flaws, for example, when it comes to Firefox and some connections between key paths and the Firefox, for example, but also if you want to save something to network drives from Firefox, it's very, very hard and still doesn't work in many cases. And that's a only Ubuntu-ish problem because they packed Firefox in their Snap format. This Snap technology has great advantages, but when it comes to interoperability between different services or technologies, then this container-based setup isn't the best, especially for the desktop. And also, it feels like they are not really interested into, for example, supporting app images or maybe also Flatpaks. I would say for a good Linux distribution, they should be included by default in the installation and also have those technologies like libfuse2 pre-installed. And what I think it feels like Ubuntu is explicitly trying to exclude certain standard Linux tools to push their own technologies, which they think of they are better than the rest. And sometimes that's true. I would say Snap in the theory is a great technology. Also for servers, it's doing really, really great, I would say. But in other points, it's just sad that they are not as open as other Linux distributions when it comes to other technology. Of course, you can just install it afterwards, so that's no problem at all. But yeah, every single user has to install such additional Linux technologies, and that's a lot of work if you sum it up together. So what's the verdict, and why is it I still can recommend Ubuntu nowadays? Ubuntu has remained remarkably consistent over the last 10 years, playing the long game, while other distros like CentOS or Red Hat flip everything upside down, or Pop! OS for example, and there are many more. Because of that and all the other things I said in this video, I can still recommend Ubuntu 26.4. It's a pretty good release. They integrated great changes for both beginners and normal users. However, I highly recommend waiting a bit for updating, to be honest. So if you're doing a fresh install, wait about 2 to 3 months from now for software developers to catch up and to get all the publicly available software for the new Ubuntu LTS version. But if you are upgrading from 24.04, I honestly suggest waiting until winter to avoid the kind of bugs we saw during the last LTS jump, for example. And you also have support until 2029 anyway, so there's no rush at all. And yeah, I would say that's pretty it. So what do you think of this new version? Let me know it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, because here on Linux Art we are releasing new stuff about Linux and open source every week. See you on the next video. Bye!